So hey guys, new ban list just dropped, and yeah, I've already seen this one. So I already know what's on it, but I still want to give my thoughts on all of the hits. So cards to be banned: Baguska. Honestly, think about this for a second. When was the last time you saw Baguska used non-degenerate? In a non-degenerate way. So every time I can think of Baguska being used against me, it's because the turn 1 player made it and I could not play. And they actually did end on a board. So nothing you can do to the Baguska. So just for example, if I want to play this in Ryziel, there are a few tricks you can do with this. So it would be you make Baguska, and then you can pop the Baguska if this gets negated with the effect of the Ryziel trap, and then bring it back with the Ryziel quick play. Just for example, so that's one way you can play around Imperm on Baguska or Droplet on Baguska. Which the fact that you can do that and effectively skill drain your opponent with a skill drain that can come back, that this is worse than actual skill drain in a sense. And also we're putting out there, no Ryziel hits here, none. So yeah, but Baguska and Dweller being banned, I guess it's just like consistent at least. I think there are quite a few other floodgates that are similar-ish to this that could be hit, but I mean, this one's just way too easy to make at the moment as well. The other time I can think of, aside from Ryziel hitting me with this, is just some like pen slop deck where they just drop Apollosa, Baguska, and whatever else. And it's like, what am I ever going to do about that? But also, Nightmare Griffins in the game. Might as well throw that out there. So it's like, okay. And then we have Dormouse to 1. This actually matters a lot because Dormouse is arguably one of the most important cards in Malice. So you might be thinking of this as just a consistency hit, but if you actually think about it in terms of grind game, like before we even account for the Malice and Underground hit and the Gold Sark hit, which is more like a reversion because Gold Sark was at 1, and then they moved it to 2 before Malice release, so it's like, this has me feeling kind of slighted, because they also put this in a selection, which makes me kind of mad about like Gold Sark here. This also affects all the other decks that did enjoy playing Gold Sark, but also Gold Sark is kind of a disgusting card, so lots of annoying things to be said about this, but I feel like they should never have just put this to 2 to begin with. That was scummy. We'll leave it that. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But with Dormouse, knowing your opponent only has 1 copy of Dormouse is like the Chundra predicament now, where if I activate like Ice Dragon's Prism, I know my opponent only has 1 other tuner that they can use for a level 4 tuner in Tenpai, and that would be like Tenroku special summon itself from hand effect, and that would be their only way to synchro summon basically in Tenpai. So putting Dormouse to 1 actually does something close to this, because if we have only 1 Dormouse, if you see normal summon Dormouse, you know that they don't have like any other access to Dormouse now. So even if you have Malice in Underground, Gold Sark, there's no more access into this Dormouse after every turn after the first one, for example, or the second turn. If someone's trying to activate Dormouse into you, having 1 Dormouse is actually pretty bad to an extent, and Malice and Underground being at 1 as well. So one such deck that could take advantage of this would be Kashtira. If you have one-ofs in any deck and it gets banished by Cash, they ain't coming back because they're getting banished face down, just for example. But with one of Dormouse, well, knowing that they have no more access to Dormouse is just huge, I guess, right? So normally, for example, if you interrupt a play, the follow-up is also now much worse. So let's say turn 1, we go like normal summon Dormouse, it gets Imperm, that actually stops the play because, your extenders, Underground, and Gold Sark are hit. All you have left at this point is pretty much just March Hare for the most part. In my opinion, that's the best one left, probably. So yeah. If we go ahead and then go next turn, if you have Malice and Underground, Goldsark, or whatever, your one copy of Dormouse, you can't banish this from deck anymore. You have to specifically banish the one in the graveyard or get access to the one in the graveyard again. There's also ideas of like going second, I guess, if you're going second and you have just the one Dormouse. There are things you could do to this single Dormouse that completely cut your opponent off of Dormouse. For example, I can, let's say, Redoer, or not Redoer. I can, well, actually, yeah, Redoer kind of works. Redoer attach Dormouse and Graveyard to my Redoer. Now you have no more Dormouse, for example. And then these are one-card combos that don't require your normal summon, basically. So this is kind of huge as well, in a sort of way. And this actually cuts down the amount of starters pretty significantly. Let's see, that's 2, 3, 5. That's like 5. So if they had like, we'll generously say 12 before, well, not generously, like if we say they had 12 before, then their one cards got cut down to like 6 cards, which is actually absolutely brutal hit. Because in terms of like pure Malice, your starters, basically, they cut Dormouse, and they also cut Underground, leaving you with, well, you're not as likely to open these now, so you're left with mostly the White Rabbit. So White Rabbit, how is this a one-card starter? You have to go now normal summon White Rabbit, and then if you grab MTP, what does this actually grab you? So if we grab March Hare, link off the White Rabbit, and then you go like March Hare banish the White Rabbit, will this resummon itself? No, because you have already done that, right? I guess you can make like Splash Mage from here and combo from here if you use 07 like that. So I think maybe you should consider playing TB11 now, perhaps, because that combo line is just so much better, and you're going to be seeing White Rabbit a lot more. Then like the odds of drawing White Rabbit is higher now than your odds of drawing either Dormouse or Underground combined, which is kind of funny in its own kind of way. So yeah, normal summon Dormouse, basically the strongest normal summon in this deck. That being hit in this way, pretty brutal. And then this also cuts you off of your Malice extending cards, so that's pretty rough too. Also, yeah, apparently Ryzeal's supposedly like is the second best deck or something, according to some people. So we won't even think too hard about that. We'll just say, yeah, sure. Let's just agree. And yeah, the closest thing to Ryzeal here is just the Bakuska, basically. So cool. And then aside from that, we're just putting Raigeki back to 3. Can we put Lightning Storm back to 3 as well? Like Raigeki, you could ban Raigeki, and I would not really care, in the sense that it doesn't really change how the game functions, because Dark Hole is still a card that exists, right? It was just dumb to hit Raigeki at all, like ever, in my opinion. Like, why? And then we have Delicious Memory. Finally, consistency in Pearly. That's it. And not much else to say about this, honestly. And then Nightmare Throne. Well, now we're unhitting Yubel, but you know, Yubel basically had the same kind of playstyle as Malice, so like, why are we doing this now? And then Sage with Wise Maiden still at 2. Like, what? These cards are only really played in Blue Eyes, so it's like, is Primate Blue Eyes really that big of a deal? Like, really now? Well, okay, I guess. So if we look at what Yubel does, might as well take a gander at that. Now they have Fiendsmith stuff as well, which, I mean, kind of meh, could matter, could maybe not matter so much, but, you know, activate Nightmare Throne. oh, all of a sudden now you're playing around everything after you've resolved the Nightmare Throne, because this negates any monster essentially. That might as well be what Nightmare Throne reads, because you pop what was it? You popped Spirit. Spirit summons Yubel, shuffle back both, and then you have Phantom of Yubel, and then this searches this card searches this card, and basically you gotta roll this. I guess if Malice is less played, maybe this just means you can droll better, but like, is Blue Eyes even that drollable? I guess they're like fairly drollable. So droll meta, basically, is the next meta. And yeah, that's probably about it, really. The hits here are just strictly to Malice, but like the question here is like, does Malice even matter? Because honestly, if we removed all the Malice and Ryzo cards, it doesn't change the fact that going first is just so much better than going second right now. And all of the new archetypes essentially feel like power crept. Well, not power crept. It feels like they're power creeping the game. And that is mostly because most of the hand traps in this game are like power crept, just straight up. Well, in terms of like how Master Duel functions and all that, you can really feel how useless hand traps are in a lot of your games. Where like if I have a single infinite impermanence, that's not going to stop anything. Sometimes it doesn't even affect your opponent's end board. Maybe the best thing you can do with it is to knock off some negates off the end board, because you can't stop the end board from being built at all, no matter how you use the card. And then there is the idea of, you know, your opponent just having like a second starter. Like the equivalent of this is like, let's say Dormouse is branded Fusion, and then Gold Zark is also branded Fusion, and then Nelson Underground is also branded Fusion. You have one Ash Blossom Joe Spring, right? And your opponent has perhaps all three of these cards in hand. Then what? You know, just absolutely nothing. And this one's searchable, you know? So, kind of. Just rough all around. So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.